Hey everyone, so welcome back. We are starting our seeds, and I thought I would just do a quick update of the things that we're growing this year. So this year we're actually going to focus a little more on things that we really want to have in the garden. For annuals especially, we're going to be growing a ton of tomatoes. We're going to be growing, as always, corn and sugar snap peas. I really like the sugar snap peas especially. We're going to be growing cucumber, just some herbs, carrots, some butternut squash as always. We're also going to start some more perennial stuff like more sorrel. We've got some early jalapenos as a gift from a viewer. Thank you very much for that. Tons of fennel we're going to be starting and putting all around the pond, as well as borage for pollinator attractor and beneficial insect attracting. We've got basil, lots of smelly plants. We're going to be growing cauliflower for frozen veggies, pumpkins, beets, more tomatoes. These are basically all tomatoes here. Some green peppers. You can tell the ones that I've saved my seed, and then the ones that we've had to buy a little bit more. We typically buy from Ontario Seed Company because it's a local grower, so definitely make sure that you're supporting your local industries. And last thing is we're going to be planting lots of lupins all around. It's a nitrogen fixer, so we got a big bag of lupin here, and we're going to be adding that absolutely everywhere. And that is pretty much it. So we're going to get going sowing this stuff. Okay, quickly, I just want to remind people how valuable it is to save your own seeds. So basically what the seed stores do is they will separate the seeds, and they'll give the biggest seeds to farmers and big industry, and they sell it in bulk. And then what you get in the seed packets are actually the small little tiny leftovers. And these are some sample seeds from a package that we just got, and these are my seeds that I've been saving. So these are both Bonnie Best tomatoes, the exact same variety, and actually even from the exact same source. So this is the package that you get. But then when you grow your own seeds and store them, you can see just how much bigger those are. You know, and there's not, it's not like because they were closer to the camera. They're actually quite a bit bigger. And basically, the bigger the seed, the more nutrient it has, the longer it's going to have until it runs out, and just the stronger overall early plant you'll get. So definitely start saving your own seeds. So here's the setup. It's not ideal by any means. I basically have this here, and I've got this grow tent here as well that I use. When you're starting your seedlings, some seedlings need a little bit of light, but for the most part, they really just need heat. So the heat mat is really all you need. I have the lights on a little bit because I'm trying to simulate early spring, late winter. So what I have is this little timer here, and this will basically, you can, right now I just have it on so that you can see stuff down here. But then I stick at the timer, and all these pins, when they're down, that will basically mean that the light is on, and anywhere that they're raised, then it means that they're off. And I typically put them on a 8-hour off cycle, but at the beginning, when it's kind of winter time, I try to simulate the shorter days, so I'll put extra pins down. Right now we've got these humidity domes on to keep the humidity in. I also put a little bit of water in the bottom of them because I'm back to work, so they'll kind of dry out during the day. So I put a little bit of water in at the bottom. Looks like for the most part my compost and soil mix has kind of slurped up that moisture. And then this should be pretty good until I get back home. You want high humidity and warm temperatures. I'm in a freezing cold basement, so this is not ideal. And right now it is like 66 degrees. And right now 50% relative humidity, but of course inside there it'll be almost 100. And it'll be actually warmer in there as well. So you kind of want to target around 80 degrees roughly to get the seeds germinating. And as far as what we're growing, I do try to grow herbs and flowers as well. So that's why we've got the borage and the fennel and that kind of thing in there as well. And we're going to have dill and lupins and a whole bunch of stuff. So don't forget to also grow marigolds or whatever you need for your additional flowers. Don't just grow your veggies, grow other things to support your veggies as well. So as far as how early to start them, we start them typically around April Fool's Day here, because the May 2-4 weekend is our last frost date. So you typically want to be 6 to 8 weeks out ahead for stuff like peppers and tomatoes. And then for larger things like squash, cauliflower, melons, and that kind of thing, you want to have roughly about 4 weeks, because they'll just get way too big. You don't need them. You don't need them started that early. In fact, actually, I'd say the most common thing that people do is start their plants too early, and then their plants are too big when they put them in the soil. They get all leggy and wind damaged, and it's just not great. Tomatoes, you can kind of get away with it because you can bury them when you plant them a little bit, but for the most part, you know, if something only needs 4 weeks before and you sow it out like 8 weeks early, you're just gonna have a hard time. So don't forget that unless your growing season is really, really short, then you've got all the time in the world. You can plant something super early, get it started super early, and all that means is that your harvest is going to be slightly earlier and the plant's going to die slightly earlier. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get anything more out of the plant. Something like a tomato that'll continue to, like an indeterminate tomato that'll continue to produce all year long, that's one of the reasons why we start them. Because we want to get as much production out of them. But for something like cucumber, squash, zucchini, you don't get a whole lot of advantage from starting them early, because they're only going to last so long anyways. So these are about, what is that, 288 plants. Trays of 72 times 4. And we'll probably plant at least, so that's 300 plants. We'll probably plant at least another 300 to 500 other plants sowing in straight in the ground when the ground thaws, May 2-4 weekend. And I might do another set of flowers and herbs and borage, and get as many plants going as possible for around the Old Man Walking Trail this year as support plants, and then around the pond as well. So we'll probably do a whole nother row of 4 trays. But I mean, this is more than enough for a single family. I think we've got this whole tray here, for example. This whole thing's Bonnie Best tomatoes. We've done stuff like black Krim, black Cherokee, a whole bunch of different tomatoes, but my wife likes round red tomatoes, so we're gonna do Bonnie Best. So this one here is all cherry tomatoes. So we've got 2 whole trays, 144 tomato plants. That'll be more than enough. We sow 2 seeds in each little plug. So we sow 2 in each plug, and then what we'll do is we'll prune the one that's doing the weakest out of those 2, and we'll just have 1 in each plug after that. And that's how you do it. I used to actually not selectively remove one of them, and I tried to tease them apart because I didn't want to kill any plants, and that's a huge mistake because I just ended up damaging the roots of both of them. And yeah, so I learned that lesson on my first year of starting seeds. So make sure that you're doing your own plant starts, because you can save a lot of money doing that. And then the other reason why we're doing mostly tomatoes this year is that we're trading with a couple people who start plants as well. So we're going to get eggplants, what else? Pumpkins, I think, beans from other people. We'll have tons of beans too, but we'll still trade. Like Spanish onions, white onions, we'll trade for stuff for other people. So it's usually good if you can kind of specialize like that. Not for the starting side, but it does kind of help if everything's the same. They'll all grow about the same height, and you can adjust the lights the same. You can, you know, rotate plants in and out. It does help for that, but it also helps for saving seed. It's so much easier to just crack open some zucchinis and save like 200 zucchini seeds for next year, and then someone else does tomatoes, someone else does eggplant, and then you trade. So try to work on that kind of community building networking. It definitely helps, and it's actually kind of fun because you're all talking about your plants and how they're doing. So that's what we're going to do this year as well. So that's why you're not seeing stuff like eggplant and zucchini started, because other people are doing that, and then we'll trade. And then also for the, you know, greens, you're probably noticing there's not a lot of leafy greens in there. We might grow a little bit of lettuce, but for the most part, you know, I've been eating like lamb's quarters and sorrel and purslane and all these like good King Henry and all these really good perennial greens, and I've got a lot established. So I'm actually moving more towards the perennial greens for, my salad fillers and lettuce on a burger, that kind of thing. So that's why we're not growing a whole lot of stuff like annual lettuce and spinach, because we actually have perennial options in the food forest, which is really handy because now I don't have to start the seeds and do all that work.